What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing another brake video, and people tend to like these brake videos, and the ones that are a little bit different, they tend to get a little bit more views as well. Like today we're working on a 06, 07, something like that, CLK 350, and we're doing front and rear brakes. The rear brakes are a little bit different than your typical car, and these right here have sensors on them, so we're going to be changing the sensors. Normally the sensors on these are on the passenger side, and I know it is on the back, but I couldn't see it in the front. And I've already changed the driver's side, and there was no sensor on the driver's side. So what we're going to do is we're going to get in here, get to it. I'll give you the part numbers that I'm using, where I got the parts from, and show y'all how to do this. Alright, so we have the tire off now, and for anybody who's never worked on one of these right here, these use lug studs instead of actual lug nuts on here. So the whole stud and head of it and everything comes out, and it's just flush right here. Also, if you've never jacked up one of these, there is a jack pad right here. I'll show it to you before I start on the front, just so you have an idea of what it looks like. And there's one on the front as well. See if I can show it to you. It's right here. I don't know how well y'all can see that, but you just jack it up right there, and that's your lift points. And if you can look right here, he needs tires on the back of this extremely bad. So I'm going to let him know about this, because the other side had a little bit showing, but this one right here was horrible. Kind of actually scared to drive the thing a little bit back to him, considering it's a 20-minute drive back, about 30 miles. But I'm gonna go the back way when I take it back to him. But let's get the starting on this right here. As you can see, there is a sensor right there, and there's the sensor wires, and they just snap down into the top of the brake pad, and got a little connector right here, and you just pull up on that little centerpiece right there, push it down one. Can't really tell from here, but you do that and it slides out. Here are the sensors right here. We did get them from O'Reilly's. They're not our sponsor, but we do go to O'Reilly's a good bit. Here's your part number, 20008. And the sensors are the same front and rear. Alright, let's see. Actually, you can just pull on the wire and it should pull the sensor right out. I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can get the sensor out. Come on. Like I said, you got to replace them every time. Yeah, that one don't want to come out, so we'll just leave it in the actual brake pad, and then we'll just take it out from there. To remove the actual brake pads, there's a pin in here. You just go into this little front hole right here, and then you knock it back towards the inside of the car. There we go. You're going to have like a little retainer clip, and that's your retainer clip. Now, this has dual pistons in it, and what we're going to do is actually spread the brake pads open and compress the pistons right here. We're going to use 2 screwdrivers. I'm just going to compress it in as much as I can. Right. And now I'm going to do the other side while holding. push that back in a little bit and just double check. All right. And that is pretty much the easiest way to do it if you do not have a piston compressor. Now, what we're going to do is, I'm actually going to spray this off with some brake cleaner because, one, this doesn't come with any of the pins with my brake pad kit. So we're going to clean all this up in a minute, but I'm going to clean out this brake caliper right here just so I can get it to flush down, and I don't want to do it on top of the new rotor. Now that I have this clean, let's go ahead and take the caliper off. The caliper and bracket on these right here are made into one whole piece, and I'm believing they're 16 millimeter. I remember from the other side. Yeah, we'll go from underneath on this one. Give me a second, I'll show y'all exactly where they're at. So here's one right here on the top, and the other one is right there. These don't torque down too much, they only torque to 55 Newton meters, so they shouldn't be that tight. Now the fronts, they torque down to 115, so they're going to be a little bit tighter. And I had to use a 1/2 inch ratchet on the front, where a 3/8 got these off really easy. Set that down to the side. And there is a screw that holds the caliper in right here. And I think it is a T30. Yeah, it's a T30. If you strip it out, you can get a drill and just drill the head off if you have to. Or if you can get it onto like a little mini impact or something like that, they should come out fairly easy. And I'm expecting these to be just as rusted as the other side, just because I can see it right around here. So now we're going to knock them off with a hammer. Just as I expected, these right here are rusted. Got some sand, not sandpaper, but Scotch-Brite right here. A little die grinder is actually messed up, so I don't have a power tool I can use to clean these up, so I'm going to have to clean them up as best I can by hand. I got to get me a new die grinder, like a little 90 or something. So I'm just going to clean this up right here, go ahead and clean up the hardware as well, and then we will lube up the caliper with some brake grease and put a little bit on the pads too, and then we'll go ahead and start putting everything back together, and I'll show you the part numbers before I do all that. Here's our new rotor right here, part numbers right there, 96762 RGS. These are from O'Reilly as well. And here are your brake pad part number. It is SM876, and here are your rear brake pads right there. And always put the one with the biggest notch for the sensor on the outside of the thing, facing the outside of the car. So cleaned it up as good as I could by hand, but now we're going to reinstall everything. Just push them down pretty much as far as they will go, and you can start your pin. And we will start our sensor. Just be careful. This is pretty much the hardest part. Let me go get my small hammer. And go ahead and put this wire in here. Okay. Alright, there we go. A little harder than it should have been. This brake line's really in the way too. But right there, you can see it down in there. It's right behind this sensor. But that is the rear brakes. Now that we got these on, we're going to go up to the front and change those. So let me put the tire back on. Like I said, the caliper torques to 55 Newton meters. And then make sure you put your sensor in. Make sure you hammer this in where it's at least flush. If you can, get it in a little deeper than flush on that pin. But like I said, let me throw this tire on, then we'll jump up to the front. Now we're back up at the front, and this is just more like a conventional brake setup, except for the sensor on there. So you have 12 millimeters that hold the caliper on, and then the actual bolts that hold on the caliper bracket is actually a 18 millimeter. And like I said, these right here are a lot tighter than the rear ones. These torque to 115 Newton meters. Ooh. Yeah, these are tight. See if I can get some grip on it. Good guy. Yeah, this one's got a little bit more torque on it if I can get the. Come on. Oh. Ooh. There it goes. Alright. Now, I'm going to go ahead and take the caliper off of the bracket. I just wanted to break those loose. I know I could have done it afterwards and probably gained a little bit more clearance on it, but the way you had to fold these over, it would have covered the top of the top bolt, just because the lines and everything actually go between the knuckle and the strut. And then the caliper bolts actually torque to 25 Newton meters. To squeeze in the caliper a little bit, because this is a press-in piston, not a screw-in. Now, my kit did not come with new hardware for some reason, which is weird because normally they do. So we will have to clean this up. And there's another Torx bit that holds the rotor on. This is a T30, just like the rear. Come on. Oh, that one's stripped out, so we'll have to try to drill it out somehow. See if we can drill this out. May be able to hit it with a hammer and get it to come off. There we go. Got to thinking about it, I didn't want it in there, so I decided I'd just heat it up, spray some penetrating oil in there, and then pull it out. There, we got it out. Here's the caliper, and what we're going to be doing is I'm going to compress this right here. It's just a conventional press-in piston. There's no screw-in anything. So I'm going to press it back in, go ahead and lube up everything and start putting everything back together. But before I put the sensor in, I will show you the part numbers for the pads and the rotor, and then I'll torque it down for you. Alright, so I have everything on, and I torqued down the caliper bracket bolts. Now I'm going to actually torque down the calipers. Like I said, these torque to said 25 to 33 Newton meters, and this torque wrench only goes down to like 30, so I went ahead and set it at 33. Sorry, I know I'm kind of jumbling a little bit and pausing, just trying to make sure I got everything right. Like I said, this is set at 33 Newton meters, so that's what we got it at, which comes to about 24 foot-pounds. But there we go. I'm gonna give y'all the part numbers real quick to all this stuff. Part number for the brake pads, SM872. And then part number for the rotors were right there, 96767 RGS. Like I said, all this came from O'Reilly's. They're not a sponsor, but this is just who had them in, and this is who he wanted to go with because they were the cheapest, and he wanted to do the cheapest he could on this, which I would have went for a little bit better brake on my Mercedes, but that's just me. But this is pretty much going to conclude the video. If I left out anything that you might have thought was important, or you need some kind of spec, leave it in the comment section below. If you got any of the concerns or the comments or anything, go ahead and leave them down. I'll get to them as soon as I can. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and until next time, y'all have a great day.